Can I call order, please? Okay, today's date is Tuesday, August 25th, 2026. Present with us, in regards to, the Piedmont Pond. We have some visitors here as such, so I believe everybody knows everybody, right? But we don't need introductions at this point. I don't think so, right? I think we all met last time. Okay. With that being said, I'll go ahead and I'll turn it over to you at this point, Vaia, and we'll see where we go from here.
Yeah, do you want me to lead off here? So, well, thanks for sitting down and talk with us again. We wanted to just come and build on our discussion from last time, about this agreement we're trying to develop to oversee management of the restoration down at Piedmont and future use. Building this agreement between Barrick as the landowner and another entity who would take the lead in management and oversight. And we had come to you at the end of July, I think, wondering if the county might take on a key partnership role there. And we've realigned ourselves and are coming back to you, presenting it with more clarity, I think, and more detail, which looking back, I think is what I should have done in the first place. And just opening the conversation back up again. So since our last meeting, we have all sat down, more specifically with Fish Wildlife Parks, to explore the option of having FWP as the lead entity with Barrick in this cooperative agreement. I'll start off right now calling it a cooperative agreement. Barrick was emphasizing, so we sat down with FWP, their lands bureau and legal expert in that arena, their parks management specialist for this region, and Vanna as well, who's been key to this project. And then on the Barrick side, we sat down with Orson, who was here last time as Barrick's lands guy for North America, and Lindy, who also works in that capacity for Barrick, and Jim Loomis, and Tom and myself, trying to hash out what an agreement could look like and what key roles could look like, because we had a strong understanding last time that larger picture as well as smaller picture responsibilities and liabilities were an issue for the county, and truly would be an issue for any entity partnering with Barrick in this kind of agreement. So that was illuminating for us. That was useful. So we sat down and had a really good open exploratory discussion. And I just want to present that to you, and then yeah, hear your thoughts from the county perspective. It seems that internally FWP has a number of existing programs and agreements that could serve this project. I'll say first, Orson made a very persuasive pitch on Barrick's end, outlining Barrick's needs, and they're unable to be here today, so I'm going to speak on behalf of them. I think Barrick initiated this idea of an agreement with the idea of leadership and a commitment to Barrick wanting this land parcel to be a benefit to the community. They have always had it open to public access along with Candlestick Ranch, and Orson emphasized that that's unique to Barrick's holdings in North America. So they really want to maintain this as a community legacy piece, and find the right arrangement. But they do have certain needs for flexibility internally. FWP is interested in taking on a key partnership role they have some programs and agreements currently existing internally. We spent a lot of time trying to figure out what might be a fit. But it seems like we have moved toward consensus that FWP might have a number of building blocks that we can use to tailor a unique agreement that satisfies Barrick's needs for flexibility, but also picks up on the responsibilities and liability concerns that we were all talking about last time. I don't know how deep into the weeds to go right now. You probably don't need all the details for that, but I think where we, and I can fill you in if you have questions on further details. I think the direction we're moving right now is, Barrick is going to talk internally about some more clarification on the term of the agreement. Trying to make that, lengthen that term to ensure it's attractive to investors to protect their investments. Clarification on what termination would look like if the mine were to close, or if this agreement were to be terminated for some reason. FWP internally is exploring these different programs and agreements as building blocks, looking at examples for FWP management in a lease form. In other places in Montana, Warm Springs came up as an example where Atlantic Richfield owns that site, but funds FWP to manage it for them, essentially as a FWP site. Prickly Pear and the 10 Mile Creek project up in Helena is another example of sort of some layered partnerships to develop public open space. And there's fishing, there's numerous other examples with FWP, like fishing accesses that are managed by FWP as the key entity, with other partners picking up project components. So I think we're moving, yes, so FWP is exploring these options internally and is going to come back with more of a proposal for Barrick on how some of these pieces might fit to ensure that Barrick retains ownership of the parcel, but FWP manages it primarily in a lease form with enforcement, maintenance, and all those things lined out. So I think what we're presenting to the county here is that this is where we're at, but it's not a done deal. It may turn out that FWP isn't in fact the right fit with the right pieces. And we're still holding that role open for the county or other entities to consider, especially now that we have firmer ideas of how pieces can come together to satisfy some of these responsibility and liability issues in a clearer way than we had when we first came to you. If FWP is a good fit, we still encourage the county to consider roles and responsibilities that they might contribute to this project. It has all the makings of serving the county with multiple benefits that include environmental, economic, social, and the response of the county not wanting any responsibility or liability for a project that has the potential to contribute greatly to this county's future did not land well with some key partners. So, as I said, just wanted to encourage an open mind for some level of county participation as we move forward and lay out these details that hopefully can address some responsibility, liability issues going forward. As usual, I talked a lot. I don't know if Tom wants to add anything, or you guys just want to say, ask some questions.
I think I might just add, I was pretty happy with our discussion with the FWP folks, the leadership guys and the planners and the legal guys. I think there's a definite potential for a pathway with FWP. There's a lot of synergies there with already having the fish pond, fishing access site that Barrick had donated many years ago to them. So you got an adjacent piece of property there, so it'd be an extension of that fishing access into the wetlands area over there. There's a lot of hoops and wickets to go through to get to the FWP. Obviously, you got state government involved there. There's a lot of legal stuff they have to, I guess, flesh out with a operating agreement. My sense was that they would like a lease versus an operating agreement. It's a little more binding legal document. Their legal guy kind of alluded to that. So Orson's going to go back and talk to Barrick on there. But as you think about FWP and the process on there, decisions are made by the commission. So you're talking about a commission, the FWP commission scheduling. This can be many months, 6, 7, 8 months out. And then there was a question on the size of the property. If it exceeds the 500 acres, then it has to go through a land board process too on there, which has a few more months on it. So we're trying to sort out right at that 497 to 505 acres. So we're trying to validate if we're either under that amount or over. Either way, though, there's another layer involved to try to get this thing approved through there. I was encouraged the Region 3 lands rep. She had several examples of Dillon, the Prickly Pear, Powell County, just some other organization where counties have gotten involved in there and they've got memorandums or something that they've committed to help with the project on it. So I think from my perspective, the county here, this is going to be a very, very good project. I think when I look at the 26 attendees and all the varied interest in this project down here, it's going to be a huge benefit, not just only to the county here, but probably the regional area as far as visitation, traffic, and economic, the social, environmental impacts there. So I would really like to think that maybe the county would look at how they might contribute to this project. So they're one of the folks on the tag on here. So we don't just get this project going and counties out in left field and have to do with it. I think that would be a mistake from my perspective that the county didn't see the importance of a visionary thing of what could happen here. And that's one reason why we're here today. We're moving forward with the thing here. I think we've got a good pathways to get a lease or something with FWP as by ESO, though that's not 100%. We're talking with folks that aren't decision makers there, and they're obviously dealing with their folks. So, 6, 8, 9 months down the road, we'll see where we're at on it. The nice thing about this project that you don't have for a lot of projects is the funding and stuff's in place. So we've already gone through and done the scoping, done the assessment analysis, had a contract to look at that. They're ready to move break ground, and the funding is there for that $400,000 or $500,000 to put this in operation, which is pretty unusual. Usually you get the project, then you go out and try to find the money. So we're on the right path, I think, to get this done here, and it's just a matter of kind of going along with the process on that. The one point that we'd ask Orson is they initially committed $30,000 for the project, so we've got some
annual.
Yeah, $30,000 annually to the project. So we got some surveys and stuff that got to be done out there. Some of the environmental things. We got some compensation by you to take and lead this thing to make sure it continues down the right path and that. So they're looking if we can do an interim MOU or something along those lines that might kind of help free some of those funds up on there. But overall, I think we're moving forward. So.
Do you have any? Yeah, I know, but I'm going to ask for everybody. Do you have other entities involved right now that are willing to step up with you? As an example, probably the Sportsman's Association, right? Is that one of them, or is there more?
Yeah, I think the sportsmen, they're open to trying to make a trail system work out there and trying to get a linkage between Whitehall and the fish pond, which would be a separate entity with the Montana Rail Link out there. We've got the Jefferson Watershed Council. And we've already got a restoration plan we're doing down there. We've included the Piedmont as part of that, so that that opens up some other potential funding and restoration there. So you got two key partners there. Now there's some other folks, well, Rails and Trails guys, I know Tom Apple, his group's looking at, supporting that. Of the 26 folks have been kind of tentative meeting, I was kind of surprised when we got college professors to Audubon to Ducks on Limb. I mean, you just start looking at all these different partners from all around that have an interest in this thing. It's pretty amazing for just a collaboration of people. Let's get a wetlands project going here. This kind of came out of the woodwork, and some neat things.
And they're not just turning an ear,
No.
they're at the table waiting for this agreement to be in place. They have resources, they have plans, they have a vision, and they just need a green light to move forward with making this a reality. So this is our key step right now. But yeah, Tom named some of those, the key ones who, once we can sign off on something, these people are ready to go.
Yeah.
And take on roles.
We had one that surprised me. She is a professor out of Western, I think, down there, and she got some kind of funding on wetlands and bird watching or whatever. So she's committed her grad students to do part of the project. They've actually been down there taking pictures and filming and stuff. You know, it's like, wow, this is kind of amazing. I said, oh yeah, I want to do this down there. That's just the kind of support and excitement you've got on the project. It's going to happen. I think it's just a matter of getting through all the hoops and wickets and over the challenges and stuff, but it's going to happen. So I'd really like to see the county be a part of this thing.
And FWP did say also they see this as we're talking and developing, it seems to be fitting into this trend of FWP taking on more management of non-consumptive use that isn't focused on fishing or hunting, but has more to do with maybe wildlife viewing or recreational use. And it just that's the way that public interest is moving, and building a venue for that in our area is hugely exciting. Kind of on the cusp of public trend in land use.
I thought that was an interesting aspect because DNRC is also a holder of land, state lands. You know, they've had a state lands permit forever that you want to go camp, hike, do whatever on there, hunt, fish, you had to have that state lands permit to go on there. So that was interesting listening to the FWP guys say we'd like to open up our recreation opportunities bigger than just block management and hunting season perspective, because people have an interest in hiking, fishing, whatever they want to do on that land. So I see that kind of an alignment of the FWP consensus on land use with the DNRC use on there. So we're heading in the right direction.
And also just to emphasize with your question, Dan, Jefferson Valley Sportsman, Jefferson River Watershed Council, Montana Rails to Trails or Rails to Trails Conservancy, I can't remember, Sacagawea Audubon, Montana Wetlands and Waterfowl, Delta Waterfowl, Montana Chamber of Commerce. These are all, and there's more, these are the ones that are rising to the top of people ready to take on responsibilities and liabilities as we would lay them out in this lease agreement. It would be great to see the county as part of that party there. As well as internal FWP mechanisms addressing some of the bigger pieces of enforcement and maintenance, depending on what internally they are able to craft together. But I think this lease agreement, major FWP pieces would take care of a lot of the big responsibility, liability concerns. And then these other partners would, some smaller project components, funding and responsibility for them, like kiosks or weeds, or actually FWP probably takes care of weeds, but I don't know, I don't have all the pieces together, but having these smaller project components being distributed among the partners and having that outlined in this primary lease agreement with FWP is kind of the vision.
Any questions, commissioners?
So just what from your two's perspective, would the county's role in this be? Ideas, thoughts?
We're kind of a loss here because obviously the county doesn't do wetlands, recreation stuff. I mean, we have our Parks Trails Rec Board that kind of helps oversee some of this stuff, but we're not the ones managing things and so it's kind of a bailiwick for us because it's out of our normal daily stuff that we do. I mean, if it's roads or whatever the county normally does, I think we'd be more than happy to help out with whatever we can, if it's part of our specialty, but for us to add a specialty is our biggest, I guess, toughest thing that we'd have to do is try to add something to our already big government to try to accommodate what you guys are trying to do out there. So that's our biggest thing. We just don't have the infrastructure to manage and keep this thing going, I guess.
And I think that the reason I'm asking is I think the county's kind of dipping their toe in this with some things, with some trail stuff, with the Rattlesnake Butte, with, but we've never really done, like Corey said, anything like this. So we're really not sure what our role might be in what you're doing. And I think it's a great idea. And I think you're doing a good job and moving along, but that's kind of my question. What are you thinking the county's role in this would be?
Cause we gotta protect our taxpayers too. We can't just say, okay, let's do this. And then we end up holding the bag for this whole project. Okay, good job, county. We got liabilities now that the taxpayers are gonna end up paying. So we gotta be careful what we commit, what we commit our county to, and especially if it's a department that we don't have. We need to add a department to take care of this park. I don't know. That all costs money and we can't even fund the department we have now. So that's why we're very hesitant in committing to anything.
And maybe the commitment was a wrong term on it. I guess from my perspective and my years of economic development, what I see the county commissioner is, you have access to the people. And our big challenge is information flow and transparency of what we're doing here. And I think it's probably more of, do you support the project or not support it? And are you a champion for the project for what it can do for the county for the benefit of the economic development in the south end down there to help in Whitehall, the regional identity of the county, that you have this world-class wetlands that's going to be here that has a lot of traffic. And I think that's what the commission in the county brings to the table. Is this is something we think is a very viable, good project for the county constituency out here, and we support that. And we have guys like the Bruces of the world that get information out that these things are going on. We're talking about doing public meetings because even in Whitehall down there, we get people, what's going on with us? We've been having these meetings, invite people, we get some folks come and go in there, which is, you still have that challenge, getting the word out to folks to make sure that if there are some things we haven't thought about, maybe somebody's thinking about, they bring it to the table. And I guess the commission would be the ones that I see as being helping to champion if they think this is a worthwhile project. Say, hey, we're on board with this and we'd like to help any way we can on there.
Yeah, and I think that's absolutely, I think or at least I am completely okay with that, as long as we're not committing county resources besides, if we need to use Bruce to get the event out or whatever, we do that for everybody, so. But when you first came in, it was like, here's this big project, we want you guys to take it and we want you to, help fund it, and then when it's going, in long-term maintenance of the thing, it's like, oh, this isn't what we do.
No, that was a good check for
Yeah.
us. And I think that was like the exact right question to ask, and I'm impressed that's you distilled everything and you asked that question, and I'm miffed that I'm sitting here like without an immediate response for you. So it is, and I think as Tom was speaking, I was thinking the exact same thing. I think the stage we're at right now is to help persuade the county to embrace this as for the benefits that it will offer. We're trying to iron out, like we're grateful for illuminating those concerns based on our last meeting, and we are moving to iron those out. But then moving forward, hopefully, we still have your open ear to, like, I don't think we're gonna come back to you and say, okay, Jefferson County, we're putting you on weeds. Like, figure it out. I'm not sure where, or let's work together to figure it out, or you're in charge of the trail, or you're gonna build a boardwalk. I'm not sure that that's where we're coming after you on. I think it's more just we're trying to move forward and address these concerns. We hope you're embracing it and open to ongoing support in name at least.
I'd say 100%.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be a
Yeah, I-
benefit to the community, and whatever we can do, for public outreach, that you guys can say the commission is completely for this project, whatever. I don't, there's no hesitancy there, so.
Yeah,
If we need to get
I'm,
the Parks
I'm the
Trails
same
Board
way.
involved with it if they're not already. That's kind of you're already part of that, so,
Yeah.
I mean, if that's kind of I don't know, that's kind of a tough thing for you if you're on both boards. How do you represent the Parks Trails Board if you're already part of the Wetlands Board? I don't know if we need to maybe put somebody else from the Park Rec Trails Board on with you guys to be.
Liaison, really, or, I don't know if there's a.
Yeah.
conflict there. No, we can.
And Dan already attends the meeting, so.
Who
that's-
does?
Dan does.
Oh, okay, Dan goes to the
So,
meeting.
He's
Okay.
our county representative there.
Yeah, so,
Um,
I mean, if you just need us to say, yeah, we're in and whatever we can do to help. I mean, if we need to look at weeds, if we need to look at if you need some money for this one project that you're short on your funding, whatever.
and
that,
maybe there's some undefined in between where like, yes, we have as of yet undefined in between where like. We're grateful to hear your full-hearted support right now. We're not looking to saddle you with the burden of resources and expertise that you don't have. But we are piecing this together and kind of tailoring something unique. So as we move forward, we may come in and present some needs that maybe aren't strongly resource-based, but some need I can't define right now that we encourage you to be open to discussing how we bridge gaps.
Yep. No, that's
in a
perfect.
way that doesn't overly burden the county
Yeah. no,
unnecessarily.
I think one of the things, the commission could think about is, I'm kind of a visionary guy, and I think this wetlands, as I see this thing, it's been on the books for quite a while. And I've done a lot of research on other wetlands around the US and stuff on here. So right now, walking out there is pretty tough. I mean,
Mhm.
the cattle have got there, you humps, it's tough to walk, and you have a few hardcore guys that use that for hunting and a little bit of recreation. Once you develop this out here, the opportunity for people to come in there with the walking trails and the duck blinds and whatever else you got going on, education component, you see traffic increase automatically. So the traffic, through Whitehall, there's only one way really to get out there, through Whitehall down to Piedmont Road and stuff. So as I envision that, you look at that road out there, talk about county implications down the road, that little narrow thing out there, now you got all these people coming and going. Right now, you don't really have, because we haven't got it developed. And I can tell you from some of the wetlands back east and down south, I mean, bird watching is one of those really high end kind of recreation. Those folks have the money and resources. There's examples of a yellow-bellied sapsucker coming in there, and the word goes out over the internet. Next thing you know, I'm talking about thousands of people converging to go get a picture of this bird at every motel for miles around a restaurant. So there's some impacts to the county where all of a sudden you have some influxes like that. So just thinking about this thing successful, what are the sidebars that go along with being successful, and how is the county going to be impacted by that?
The
So-
surveys have already shown swans and cranes and two kinds of owls that have fledged there this season. There's bad acoustic equipment set up there right now. They're doing amphibian studies. I think Tom's right. I think, that might be the piece that we can't define right now, but if and as traffic potentially increases,
then we'll be looking at FWP for impact on the roads, right? No, I see what you're saying, Tom. No, that's something that got to add to. We start getting traffic and our road's not adequate, we'll have to look at that, see what we need to do to mitigate those impacts, but I mean, that would be a good problem to have.
Yeah, but it rolls over to law enforcement too and stuff, you know,
Yep.
the county areas and involved in that. So, you know, there's kind of a ripple effect as you do that. It's a good news, bad news kind of thing. You just gotta
Yeah.
plan for that and be aware that that's
Right.
gonna happen.
And I think there's a vision among partners to have it serve as a living classroom also, not only for Whitehall school students, but like some of the waterfowl and bird groups there have a vision, I think, of, you know, bringing in workshop type groups of kids to look at like building a duck nest or I don't know, but there is a vision for this educational component. Of small groups using it.
I think it's a good thing, yeah.
The other thing I think is something we could do is, as this thing progresses, obviously there's a lot of information flow on that. It's periodically come up to the commission on your agenda as an update to you as well as the public out there. Hey, here's where we're at. There's some things that are progressing, there's some challenges we got here. Just so folks are aware, you know, that this is a project that's gonna probably happen down there.
Good.
Yeah, I think it's a great project and um, my thoughts are we support it. We just not sure how yet.
Yeah.
Cause anytime you talk about responsibility and liability, we're like, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah, you can talk about it vaguely, but it's most useful to have it spelled out.
So I think, yeah, keep us in the loop and I think it's a great project. Let us know how we can help and what we can do and with outreach or who knows where it'll go.
I got one question, for the actually, so there's clarification for commissioners. With that trail they wanna do, the railroad trail and stuff, that really doesn't, well, they wanna do their part on it, but that has nothing to do with the Piedmont Pond part, does it? I mean, in the sense of looking for support from the county, correct? Or am I wrong in saying that? Because it seemed like at that one meeting, they were sort of leaning on the county when you guys sort of straightened them out and said that's not really the case, and then the sportsman stepped up.
Yeah, I think I was the one that mentioned that's a separate distinct thing.
Yeah.
We don't want to get that muddied up with the wetlands over here, the trails project. It's a separate distinct project.
But you do have to keep in mind that all of this goes.
Oh, and it is,
means
but I mean,
the
with
whole
them coming in on the
community.
county, I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah,
But it's for
We
the
don't
way
wanna
of
lose
them
that bit.
going, there it is, and now we got it. That's
think-
where it's-
I think the unique thing, Commissioner, on that trail was several years ago, Glenn and Terry Marks had engineered that, got funds to put a walking trail from the museum out there because they had some kids that got run off the road because of that narrow road out there. They had it all done and the landowner was waiting for the last signature. Well, 11th hour, they decided not to do the easement through there, and the county had signed on that they would take and maintain that trail. It was actually the lease that was developed. I think you might remember that, Steve. I think the commission at that time agreed to take that portion on to do that. I think that's where that confusion came up when they said, well, the county had done something previously.
Right.
So, but I see it as a separate and distinct thing.
So, and I agree, I'm gonna play a middle piece where it is separate and distinct, but it is developing in tandem with this project. Because hopefully all the pieces will link eventually. The Trails group is represented in our Piedmont group with a Trails committee that updates us and trades information back and forth on how to vision all these pieces working together. But it is developing separately, but in tandem. The sportsmen have stepped up right now to take on the key role in applying for a right-of-way lease, a trail right-of-way lease with Montana Rail Link. And that group is working with the sportsmen right now on the nuts and bolts of what that looks like. And they're gonna take on that application fee if there is one. And yeah, so it's the same way as we're ironing out sort of these pieces to move forward with an agreement, that Trails group is as well.
Yeah, I think
but we're in communication.
the separate distinct one is that we're dealing with Barrick on the wetlands, and Barrick has nothing to do with the.
Yeah, makes sense. Counselor, do you have anything? Okay.
Just to, well, follow up on Tom's comment about this, an added layer to all of that is any involvement with Fish, Wildlife and Parks, once the details start getting ironed out, they are obligated by law to notice this stuff up, because they're gonna have public hearings on it, because they've got to follow the Administrative Procedures Act. And so they will be getting word out too when it gets to that point. Certainly we're not there yet. That doesn't mean the county can't bootstrap onto that. I certainly have no objection to being a PR component to this, if you will. But that's about it.
I think the idea was that, yes, if this does develop into a true lease agreement, there will need to be an EA, and it will need to go to the Fish and Wildlife Commission for a vote, and that EA will involve a public comment period. I think what Tom was alluding to was, like you said, kind of bootstrapping on that, just ensuring there is a Whitehall or locally specific period, whether it's directly related to comment on that EA or just timed in the right way, so that there's committed transparency and understanding on what exactly is going on south of town for the residents, and an opportunity for them to contribute their perspective.
Sounds like you got all our support as for us three. So. Anything else?
Yeah, I think just moving forward, when we hear more, we're hoping to hear more from FWP in the next couple weeks. And maybe within another month or 2 or 3, have something lined out, and when we're ready, I think we'll just come back to you with an update.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Much better presented, no thing, much better presented.
I think-
More clarity here.
I think we're just at that stage where we're churning, like trying to figure out what's the priority coming to the surface. And yeah, I'll admit, we might have been a little bit premature in understanding exactly what our top, yeah. But it was valuable. I think it was a valuable first discussion, and
Oh, yeah.
I think we're not there yet, but we're doing a little bit better at lining it all up, and it's feeling good.
Hopefully FWP goes with it, because it's right up their alley. That's what they do.
I think they're excited, and they really want to make it work. Again, they got to do their churning now
Yeah.
and to figure out what it
No.
would look like. But it was like focused thought on, like, how can we do this? There is a way. We just
Yeah.
gotta define it.
Well, you're more than allowed to say that the county's in support of this project, so.
Okay,
You know,
that's great.
that's what you wanted out of this meeting, I think, so. We will support you the best way we can,
Awesome.
so.
And we're happy to work with you to make it favorable for everyone.
Yeah.
And maintain county support without undue burden.
Sure.
I think we understand that.
Yeah, absolutely. We appreciate that. Good.
Thanks.
Good.
Yeah.
All right.
Anything else? If not, we'll be adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.